Now available for the first time in paperback. Why 70% of black women are single. Learn all the reasons why so many black women can't find a husband and why 70% of black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today. What is a Pyrrhic victory? A Pyrrhic victory is where you win, but you lose so much that the victory means nothing. And as I walk down Parkchester and I see many of the businesses here, like the Children's Place on Wood Avenue, closed and out of business, I clearly see an example of a Pyrrhic victory. Now, this is supposed to be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's own district. And we have quite a few businesses with rent retail space available. This is right down Metropolitan Avenue, the major thoroughfare. I mean, before this pandemic happened, we had the Dress Barn go right here. Dress Barn, they closed. And now, because here's the Dress Barn, and you see that the store is empty. And here we have New York and Company, which is another Parkchester staple, and its store closing, going out of business. And right across the street, we have the Portobello. I'm going to zoom in. And that's a going out of business sign on the Portobello. So when I talk about Pyrrhic victories, in this community right here, we have a Pyrrhic victory going on, where we have people saying we're trying to fight this virus, but it looks like it's doing more damage to the economy than it is to the virus. I walk past this Portobello that's going out of business. We approach a former Applebee's that closed before the pandemic. And again, we look at this once thriving thoroughfare that was doing lots of business in 2018. And in 2020, it's a practical dead zone. Now, here's another business that I want you to take a look at that notice. And this was a cleaners I went to last year, and it's gone. Now, I did that vlog to show you the economic damage done to Parkchester, a middle-class neighborhood, and I also wanted to show you how this closing of businesses here has destroyed the quality of life here in this once thriving middle-class neighborhood. And I wanted to show how real people were damaged by this approach of trying to flatten the curve, and how this approach of flattening the curve has flatlined the economy to the point where many businesses were not able to come back. Because many of these people who are in Washington and upstate New York, and even here in Gracie Mansion, they seem to be so caught up in their feelings about Donald Trump that they just can't think about the economic impact the approach that they used to allegedly flatten the curve did to the overall state and local economies all across the country. Because when I look at the approach that was used, that was proposed by your Dr. Fauci as related to flattening the curve, this approach, we see that that theory was fundamentally flawed, and we see the economic damage that was done by it. Moreover, we have more damage being done to America as related to this approach, because it seems like America has a bit of a double mind as related to its approach to fighting this pandemic, because it seems like there was no singular focus on fighting this virus. It seems like that America had a double mind. And in the Bible, it states that a double minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And this double minded approach, as I see it, has really fragmented and destabilized the country, because it seems like the country was not only fighting the virus, but we had people going out here to fight Donald Trump. And that was one of the problems I saw with this approach to fighting this pandemic, was people were so caught up in their emotions about Donald Trump that they couldn't see the long-term damage they were doing to the country. So you had people who were so in their emotions about Donald Trump, and because it was an election year, they saw it as an opportunity to try to oust Donald Trump out of office. So we had this tunnel vision as related to Donald Trump, and this tunnel vision as related to Donald Trump, as I see it, did more damage to America in the long term, because everyone was so caught up in their feelings about Donald Trump and their quest to get Donald Trump that they didn't see how they were hurting everyday Americans. And we see that happening right now with Congress going on vacation. They have practically forgotten about the American people who are out here unemployed as a result of their decision to shut down all of the so-called non-essential small businesses, have all of these people out of work for months, and practically they derailed every American's life out here. Almost half of the country is unemployed, and instead of trying to get the American people back on their feet, they have such tunnel vision about getting Donald Trump and the Republican Party that they're not thinking about the needs of we the people who they told to shelter in place in many of these cities, told to not go to work, and told to stay home. And now these people who stayed home got their unemployment and were barely keeping their heads above water. These same American people, they have left behind the same way Barack Obama and the Congress and the Senate left unemployed people like myself behind in 2009 when they decided to go have their vacation. And instead of signing an unemployment benefits extension, they decided to have a vacation and then come back and take care of business. Well, that's a completely insulting approach to the American people, because we the people, we were the ones who elected you to represent us, and instead of representing us, you think that it's all about you. And that's one of the big problems with our state, with our federal government, our state governments, and our local governments, is they no longer represent we the people. They're so caught up in their feelings about Donald Trump and so caught up in tunnel vision about Donald Trump, they can't see how they're harming the American people. And while they'll sit there and talk about how they have managed to so-called defeat this virus, what they really have done is create a Pyrrhic victory here in America, where America is in a place that is 10 times worse than if they had done absolutely nothing at all about this virus, because their approach to the virus was, again, a fundamentally flawed one, and that fundamentally flawed approach is what was doing more damage than the virus itself. It seems like this cure that they want to do to this virus is doing more long-term damage to our economy, and it's doing damage to the lives of American people who are reporting higher instances of domestic violence, higher instances of drug use, higher instances of mental health issues, and we're having increasing crime in cities here like New York City, not to mention the ongoing riots in places like Portland and many other cities. It seems like, again, this attempt to so-called flatten the curve as related to stopping COVID-19 has flatlined the economy and escalated chaos, and that just shows how disconnected many of our leaders on both the left and the right are, and how they're so caught up in their emotions about one man that they cannot see the damage that they're doing to the American people. The American people have practically become forgotten as related to this struggle against COVID-19, and it's become all about these politicians and their obsession with Donald Trump. Because the reason why, I call it an obsession is because when a person has tunnel vision, they cannot stop themselves, and when they can't stop themselves, all they do is focus on one thing. An obsessed person, all they have is one thought on their minds all the time, and they're willing to actually push past boundaries to go after that obsession. Because an obsessed person is someone who will not look out for their own health, their own safety, or intangibles like their dignity and their self-respect, all to get whatever they're fixated on. And an obsessed person doesn't know where the boundaries are and will continue pushing past those boundaries in order to get what they want. And people who do this type of thing oftentimes wind up in Pyrrhic victories. Yes, they get what they want, but they lose so much that they wind up doing more harm than good. Because when you have an obsessed person, all they think about is that one thing all the time. And because they're thinking about that one thing all the time, they don't understand about that there are other needs that need to be taken care of, other business that needs to get done, and other work that needs to be completed. People, when they're obsessed with one focused thing that they want, like a lot of people in politics about getting this Donald Trump, all they're thinking about is doing harm to this one man, not thinking about the harm they're doing to all of these American people out here, many of which did not vote for Donald Trump, many of these average Americans who are just out here looking to work and make a living. This fragmented approach to fighting COVID-19 passively by closing all of these so-called non-essential businesses in a country where 60% of America's business is done by small business. This was something that it was meant to allegedly stop passively, this COVID-19, but aggressively, I believe it was an attempt to make Donald Trump look bad and try to destroy his economy that he allegedly touts, so he would have nothing to stand on as related to his political position. But this hurt everyday average Americans, and those Americans are being left behind by both the left and the right. They decided to go on their vacation, and as they went on their vacation, they decided they were just going to make us wait till September, the same way Barack Obama made us wait for the Congress to come back to sign an unemployment benefits extension when the left controlled both the House and the Senate. And both parties have shown how disconnected they are from the American people to go out here and practically abandon the American people like this. I mean, this is just, when you look at that vlog I just did, again, it shows how deep this tunnel vision is, and how I believe in some ways there's just this deep-seated hatred for Donald Trump that has everybody's eyes so blinded with tunnel vision they can't see the damage they're doing to real people and real lives. It's all about getting this one guy. And this is very similar to what happens with beta males and females in a lot of cases. When you have a beta male and there's a girl that he likes, he's so caught up in getting the other guy out of the picture, he winds up fixating on the other guy to the point where he doesn't even see the girl he's interested in anymore. And when you have a female, in most cases, she's so emotional over a guy that all she does is fixate on the one guy, because oftentimes it's all about hurting the other person. And when I look at the way America is going these days, it's more about trying to hurt Donald Trump than anything else. And it's not about trying to get America back on its feet. It's all about trying to hurt this one guy. And hurting this one guy is hurting the country. But sadly, many of our federal, state, and local politicians can't see how they're doing harm to we the people. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to the Patreon, PayPal, or Cash App. And since this video is not going to get monetized, I would please ask you to donate to the Patreon, PayPal, or the Cash App in the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my books, you can head over to Amazon.com. You can find my books in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords and the iBookstore. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.